To make this sled, I'm using 3/4 inch plywood, T-track, and my homemade T-track hold down clamps. I made the sled equal length of the tabletop on my table saw. To inset the T-track, I had to cut a bunch of dados in the plywood, so I set my table saw height equal to the T-track height. And I made several passes with my normal blade because I didn't feel like taking out a dado stack, just sneaking up on the cut and checking with the T-track until I got a perfect fit. I'm making my sled 12 inches wide, and because I'm working with T-track that's 24 inches long, I had to cut these in half, roughly at 12. Doesn't have to be perfect because the whole sled is going to be trimmed down later, flush with the blade. I should say I don't know if this is the best way to cut down the aluminum T-track. Seemed to make sense to me, and it did work well. I don't have a lot of material left on the bottom of the plywood, so I'm just gluing in the T-track. I'm using original Gorilla Glue because it's supposed to bond to both metal and wood. I'm using a scrap piece of plywood just to help clamp down all of the T-track in place. Because the original Gorilla Glue can expand, I didn't want the T-track getting pushed out of the slots. And waiting for this to cure is actually where I realized this doesn't have to be just a taper jig, it can be used as more of a modular sled too. Once the glue was cured, I was ready to attach the miter bar to the sled. What I'm doing here is using washers just to lift up the bar to make sure it's actually connecting with the sled, because I'm using CA glue to temporarily attach the bar to the sled so it stays in place while I add screws. After that was done, I trimmed down the whole thing so that the edge of the sled would be flush with the blade. For testing it out, I'm just simply tapering a piece of plywood here. But like I said earlier, I realized this sled could actually be used for more than just tapering. So I actually have some ideas for future projects, making attachments to this sled. Because it has T-track, really, I can add whatever I want to it. But as you see, at least for tapering, it does work well for that.